It's a good day.
Um, yeah, it is indeed a good day. It's still breaking dawn where I am. I'm in Australia, but
Wow.
yeah,
What time is it over there?
it's 5:40 in the morning.
Ah, okay. It's a big time difference.
I know,
Yeah.
but it's fine. I usually start my day around this time, so
Ah,
it's
cool.
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 Yeah. I'm Saurabh. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. And what about you? Tell us something about yourself, and how did you get into comics?
Mm.
How did you get interested in things like that?
Well, I'm over here in Richmond, Virginia. Um, I was born in Jamaica and I moved over here when I was about two. So I lived in New York City for the majority of my life in Brooklyn, New York. And growing up, like every kid, the comics was a big deal back then, like around 1991 to early 2000. Like I was heavily into comics. So when I grew up, I started with like Marvel, like Hulk, Sleepwalker, um, DC, a little bit of Superman, some a little bit of Vertigo, Sandman, but I really got into like Image Comics. And when I read the Max and like the Pit and Spawn and all that stuff, that really drove me into like pursuing a career into comics. And I wanted to be like a comic book artist. When I was a kid, I would always draw and make my own comics by hand and put it together. A little it was like generic superhero stuff, but that's what really drove me into the medium, and I wanted to pursue it seriously after like I read all that cool stuff that was coming out back then. But when I got to around 16 and I got into the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, and I got into there and I started making like my portfolios and stuff, and and I saw what everybody else was bringing to the table. I'm like, you know what? Maybe being an artist is not my field. I don't think I can cut it. But that drove me into writing, and I actually fell in love with writing.
Mm,
I think I've hit my stride, and I've been writing a ton of stuff since I was about 17. 17. So now I've just been writing a ton of stories, and Stargazers is actually the culmination of all that experience writing. And this is my first full series. And I'm starting out with a graphic novel, and I would say it's about the length of four single issue floppies. So it's going to be about 100 something pages. So
right.
sorry, am I rambling? I don't
No,
want
no, no. Absolutely,
to.
you're doing great, man. No,
Thank
no.
you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can obviously see some of the inspirations. I think the art is very Jack Kirby-like.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are like quite a few inspirations I see from pop culture. That's
Hmm.
one of my pet peeves. I try to like whenever I read a comic, I try or even a book for that matter. Like I just try to find pop culture references in some of those books. I can see. I don't know. It has a little bit of like Independence Day vibe to it as well. Uh,
Yeah.
it has some Avengers vibe to it. Little bit of probably say Dark Side and some DC comic stuff. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Wh-
Well, what were your like main sources of inspiration? And I've just gone into prologue, so that could just well be small part of it. But what were your inspirations writing the book?
Um, well, yeah, you mentioned Jack Kirby. That's actually, he's actually one of my all-time favorite, like not just comic book artist, but just as a creator. I respect his mind, his attention to detail, and when he's putting together stories. So I definitely drew some inspiration from him, from definitely from Dark Side, as we saw in the prologue. And I would say my other inspirations are Chris Claremont, his run on X-Men. I love the way I love creative people and the way they think and how they put stories together. And I take I take bits and pieces from everybody I come across. And I would also say Todd McFarlane. I like Todd McFarlane stuff. I would say, oh man, it's so many people. It's running through my mind. Oh, Dwayne McDuffie and
Yep.
his stuff at Milestone. All that stuff I was reading as a kid, and that helped me like really put together a story that you are sympathetic to the protagonist and you understand his morals and his motivation, and that's really what I wanted to bring across in the story. You know, just just a regular teenager that has a monumental task on his shoulder, and he's trying to figure out how to make this happen. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like I mean, essentially, that's what Stargazers is. It's a story of a boy trying to reconnect with his father,
Yeah.
trying to save him, and also trying to save the universe in the process.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really like the stories that are big in scope, but are very personal at the same time, just to have that human connection to whoever the reader is. And the father-son relation is such a universal thing that it can appeal to pretty much anyone in the world, right?
Definitely, and especially in the Black community where there is such a lack of fathers in the mainstream media. It's I mean, I don't think it's 100% true, but it's definitely a problem in the Black community. So I wanted to address that in this book as well. Um, Strong male figures being represented in a positive light, and I definitely want to show that this book is for everybody can relate to this character. You know, you don't have to necessarily be African American or a certain type of race. You can empathize with this story, and that's what I was trying to do with this.
Yeah, but I absolutely hear you, man. I think there is uh obviously need for these characters to story to be told, because if they are missing from mainstream discourse, then someone has to do it, right?
Someone has to, and that's what I love about the indie comic scene is that you can you can find just about anything, and all races, everybody's represented in a fair way, in a not just in a surface level stereotypical way, but really you can really delve deep into these characters, which
Absolutely.
is the thing I love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the fact that I've read so many different varied characters in last few months, just last few months, all like the fact that they are like either from different races or for different kinds of or have like different sexual orientations, like trans and so many different kinds of non-binary gender identities and things like that.
Yeah.
And they're all well-rounded characters who are like effortlessly themselves and not really a caricature drawn by someone who's not from their culture and trying to guess what that person would be like.
Oh,
So
exactly.
yeah,
you know, um, and I feel like in the mainstream, as far as Marvel and DC are concerned, I feel like, they're trying to go that route, but there's, a lot of missteps along the way. Sometimes you get the wrong creative team on a project and you end up with the Miles Morales Thor story. And, we all
yeah,
know what happened with that. So But yeah, but Stargazers, it's pretty cool, man. It has a lot of action in it. It is also inspiration from Bruce Lee. As a it's a science fiction story, but it's heavily uh centered around martial arts. So I'm
Nice.
taking like two very kind of uh, I would say very different ideologies, science and martial. You don't really see that too often. So I kind of
No,
merged that together to, you know, give a different take on it.
that's awesome. And that's what makes these stories unique, right? Like you bring your own flavor to it. Like I love kung fu and I love kung fu movies. I loved them when I was growing up. I watched a lot of them. I also used to
Awesome.
watch a lot of
Um,
like these shows where like these Chinese soap operas that are like very heavily rooted in kung fu and they're so good to watch. The action in them is just mind blowing, most of them. So
oh,
uh,
I mean, if you want to talk kung fu, you want to talk Jackie Chan, Drunken Master. We could talk Five Deadly Venoms, all that stuff. I loved all that stuff growing up, and I've always wanted I've always wanted to see like a kung fu character that was that was also like had the intellect of Batman, like and no, not even Batman, more like Reed Richards, who had the mind of Reed Richards, who was highly intelligent and could combine that into, and that's what I did with this character.
nice.
He's kind of a fusion of that, and I think people, if you're into kung fu and you're into science fiction and stuff, I think you'll definitely like this book.
That's
You'll
great.
definitely get your fix.
That's great. And yeah, I think there are plenty of people interested in it. So all the
Oh
best.
yeah.
Cool.
I
How
would.
was sorry, you were saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 go for it. Go for it.
Um, well, I wanted to know what would you say is the best science fiction movie you've seen?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's so many I love. uh, one of my favorites is probably Arrival, a more recent
Oh,
one. But
oh,
I
that's a good
absolutely,
choice.
yeah, I absolutely love the bones of that movie. Um,
Nice.
Yeah, it's so like I think the fact that despite the whole science fiction high concept thing, um the fact that it's rooted in something so basic and so like love for your daughter and how we see time and those kind of things. Um
Mm,
yeah, and those human emotion things that do it for me. So I think Arrival is
awesome.
probably one of my most recently favorite science fiction movies. What about yours?
Awesome. I would say, hmm, I'm picking between either Alien or Blade Runner, and
Mm.
I think I'll say Alien. I can watch Alien 1,000 times. It's just so iconic, and it's just perfect in my opinion. So
Oh yeah,
if I had to pick one, that'd be it.
yeah. I would agree with your choice 100% as well, because like if you combine science fiction and horror, there's nothing like Alien that has ever been made again. Like even if they've tried to make like so many different Alien movies
Yeah.
or something similar to even Alien movies, right? Like it is just gold standard in science fiction horror.
Oh yeah, definitely. And and that's also a good thing because I think when people strike gold, when they really get something special like that and they try to recreate it over and over and it's not the same. I think, sometimes it's best to just if you hit the nail on the head, I think, let's move on. you know? That's what I think.
Yeah. I don't know. As a kid, I was it was '90s was a very different time, you know. So I was very early on, like even when I was like 5, I was exposed to RoboCop and and Jurassic
Oh,
Park. If I was 6, so yeah, it's very very like I don't see a world where kids will be able to see RoboCop today at the age of 5 or 6, you know. So
no. Definitely, no, definitely not. With everything being so, what's the word? Not necessarily censored, but more, I feel like little kids, they're sheltered in what they can watch. Because I remember when I was a kid, when I was like 10, like you said, RoboCop, we saw zombie movies,
yeah,
scared the living daylights out of me, but I still loved it, but now nowadays you can't do that stuff. But honestly, I think kids can handle a lot of mature things at an early age if it's done right. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I,
I totally agree with that. I
yeah,
mean, Jurassic Park is probably one of the best examples of movies that are scary to watch for kids, but they can actually watch it without, and they can enjoy it as well. So,
yeah, that's a good family movie, in my
yeah,
opinion. Jurassic Park, A plus.
plus, yeah, it still holds up. I don't know, like I watched it a few years ago, very recently, in theaters when they re-released it in 3D, and I
Nice.
actually absolutely loved it again. Like it was like I was a kid again when I was watching it. So,
I felt that same way when they re-released Star Wars back in, I think, back in the early 90s. They like remastered it and retouched it up, and I saw it in theaters. So it was almost like I saw it when it originally came out. So yeah, man, just certain movies are special, man. They just touch your soul, they touch a certain part of you, and you have a connection to it. And that's the thing I love about writing is that I love making something that people can really get behind and really resonate and really understand and connect them to that story. So, you know.
absolutely. Well, technically, you are creating your own pop culture, and that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really, and as a writer, that's not an easy thing to do, man, to actually make something that people will remember and take in, especially when there's a lot of people right now making comics, and the indie scene is definitely alive. There's a ton of comics coming out, and your story has to stand out because there are hundreds and hundreds of books being released this year. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So I'm trying to craft something special. And my daughter going off down
that's
there.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, she's okay.
That's good. Yeah. Do you know, like in 2021 alone, Kickstarter had like 10,000 campaigns of
Sheesh.
comic books. So, yeah, 2022 was expected to be much bigger than that. So yeah,
Yeah, man. And
but yeah, you were saying, sorry.
oh, no, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, just because like indie comic scene is just exploding right now, and I interviewed someone a few days ago, and he was an army veteran who turned into a comic book writer, and people from all walks of life are actually becoming comic book writers now. So that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, especially and now with the with Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all these crowdfunding platforms, it's it's feasible to, come up with a marketing plan and a budget and to release a book of high quality to a lot of people. And that's awesome, man. I love that because comics is not a it's definitely not an easy thing to thrive in, especially with you have the manga market just crushing it over here in the States, and every teenager loves manga. So I'm not necessarily trying to compete with manga. I'm more trying to share an audience with them because I feel like a lot of people who read manga and they come over and they read the Western comics, they love it. But it's just not being promoted right, in my opinion.
Mm, mm.
It's I'm not really sure what demographic the big two are going after, but there's a ton of people looking for good books to read. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure they have data scientists who can figure out that stuff for them.
yeah. Yeah, good luck to them, man. I hope they figure it out. But um we got something special coming. Um with this campaign, with the Stargazers campaign, we have a special trading card that every physical backer is going to get. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a nice set of 4 cards. You're going to get the first one with this campaign. And we have a lot of extra goodies and stuff for all the physical backers, t-shirts, coffee mugs, posters, all that stuff.
Nice. Nice. I really like some of the character stuff that you've put up on Kickstarter. Like how did you come up with the character of Sage, and what's the inspiration behind these characters? I really like the Dojo Master Flora
Florida,
and
Miami.
Flora Miami.
What?
Yeah.
um, well, Sage, he actually is a bunch of different characters I had in my head. When I saw the Karate Kid with what's his name, Jaden Smith,
Yeah.
he was kind of he was the start of the inspiration. I was like, you know what, that's kind of cool. A young, a young black kid who's trying to find his way, and he learns martial arts, and I kind of like that idea. So I I took that for the foundation of Sage, and I took bits and pieces from like other martial arts movies like Bruce Lee, Dragonfly Jones, Luke Cage. I took a bunch of different stuff and I kind of melded it and I put my own spin on it. And he is hyper intelligent and he learns martial arts for practical and for the right reasons. He just wants to protect the people he loves. And his fighting style is very unique. And I want to showcase that in this first book. There's going to be stuff you haven't seen before. I can
Right.
guarantee you that. um, and Flora, Miami. I kind of took inspiration from Yu Yu Hakusho. Um, when she was teaching Yusuke, his teacher in that anime, I took inspiration from her, the old but frail looking grandmaster teacher who could whoop your butt in a couple of moves. So
Yes.
she is kind of like that hard edge, but has a softer side to her. And
Mm.
she definitely keeps Sage in line because Sage he is a little bit arrogant, a little bit uh stubborn, a little bit of a hothead. So she kind of has to keep him in check every now and then.
Nice. Nice. I love that. I love like how characters bring balance to each other.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we also have uh Jogar. He is linked to Sage in a it's hasn't I haven't fully revealed it in this first book, but it'll make sense by the end of the story, you can see the connection between those two. Um, he is essentially an orphan. You know, he goes through the foster care system, and but he also is very grounded. He also doesn't let his hard life deter him from being a positive person, you know.
Right.
And Sage needs that, you know, with all this heavy burden on him. He needs somebody to kind of, you know, take the load off him, you know, help him out. And they have a nice back and forth in the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bring balance to each other.
That's awesome. No, I
Mhm.
absolutely love the characterizations of all the three characters that you have put up on the Kickstarter page, and like they're like
Thank you.
they have so many different, like, they look well rounded, because they are they're not, as I said before, like, they're not caricatures of what kind of characters they would be, so that's what I love about them. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
definitely looking forward to it. So
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely. This will be the first of four books. The second book, it's basically written out. I'm just have to, you know, get started on drawing it, hire somebody to draw it. But this first book is almost complete. You know, I just need a couple more weeks to get everything done, and we'll send it out to the printers.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Have you made sure you updated that in your Kickstarter update?
uh, you know, in a few days, I'm gonna post that.
Yeah.
I'll let everybody know.
Yeah, yes, because I think Kickstarter is great, but it's also very tricky to get people to fund your book, and it's the whole campaign of, like, doing marketing by yourself is a it ebbs and flows.
I, I would definitely say now that I've actually like ran a Kickstarter, I'm in the process of doing a campaign. It's very tricky. You know, it's not as easy as just making a good looking campaign and just putting it out there. You have to really get people engaged and get people interested in what you're putting out there. And I've definitely learned a lot so far.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely learned that there's little tips and tricks you can do to boost yourself in the algorithm and get more eyes on your project. Um, but I definitely encourage everyone who's interested in starting a campaign, really have a plan to launch your project. You know, make sure you definitely have a solid plan, and it's okay to pay for some marketing, maybe get a social media manager to take care of that stuff for you. um, because it's gonna be worth it. You know,
Mm, mm.
it definitely is. With all the competition out there, it's definitely hard to get eyes on your project nowadays.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but you're like, I think this project is going into November. November is less noisy than October. October
Yeah,
is the noisiest month of Kickstarter, I think, for in the entire
yeah, I
year.
think so too. With Halloween and all the books. Well, because what I know is around October, there's a lot of like books centered around like monsters and a lot of so it's definitely peak season now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
November's a little bit easier now.
Yeah, I think it's also somewhat to do with post Thanksgiving. People want to get their books around, like, Thanksgiving, or post, like, slightly after that, and
Mm.
the whole thing like, the half the world shuts down during, like, Christmas, and for the
Yeah.
holidays and stuff. So people just want to get their work out there before Christmas, And that's
Yeah,
what kind of like pushes everyone to do like October campaigns. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And and I also want to say that I've noticed like on Kickstarter, especially there's a lot of good stuff on Kickstarter too. You know, a lot of quality books are coming out. So definitely I'm actually, backing some stuff, and it's so hard because there's so many good books to pick from. It's like I want to back everything, but I just,
I only
yeah,
have so much money.
exactly. You know, but
Totally
it's
agree.
definitely a good problem to have.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, that's very true. Uh, do you have you done like how much of your traffic is for digital versus physical? Have you done any of that stats yet, or you going to do that post campaign that breakdown?
Um, well, I looked over it a little bit the other day, and I noticed um there's a few people backing the digital, but a lot of people want the physical stuff. Um, well, unfortunately, for this first campaign, I can't do international shipping. But for all the people who back digital happen to be international, I'll throw in some extra stuff for you guys, you know. But promise next campaign definitely will do international shipping.
Nice,
Well,
nice.
definitely.
That's really good. That's really good. Cool. Getting back into
Mm.
some of our, uh, I would say, inspiration stuff. What kind of characters do you love in your comics slash movies slash books slash whatever stuff that you
Hmm.
read and watch?
That's a
Who
good
are your
question.
favorite characters?
I always love the underdog. That's got to be my favorite type. The guy that you think is down and out, you think he can't make a comeback and he just does it. That's what I love, the comeback story. I also love the I also love the type of character that's like kind of like a brooding Batman, just calculating, manipulating. You don't exactly know where that character is coming from, what they're gonna do next. Very tricky.
Mm,
So I would say like I try to incorporate that into my universe. Um I try to make characters that when you're reading the actual book, you don't know what's gonna happen. You're like, huh, where's this going? What's going on here?
yeah,
And I definitely put a little bit of that into the first book right here. Uh, there's more characters that meant that are in the book, but I don't want to give it away yet. I kind of want the reader to be a little surprised when they delve into it.
oh, absolutely.
But
Don't get into spoilers.
yeah. Um, but yeah, speaking of inspirations though, I would say also I I look into a little bit of world news every day, and I look at what's going on in the world, and I drop little hints of that along in the story. You know, where we have inflation, that's in the story. We are dealing with a lot of racial issues over here in the states, you know, with and gender issues, and I throw all that into the story as well to kind of make the story more contemporary for a new reader,
Yeah,
so they can like, oh, okay, this is I like where this guy's his head is at, man.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Very true. I think that's part of a good science fiction story. Always, like science fiction, always does some reflection on the society and like the current current events and those kind of things. They
Yep.
obviously like draw parallels and have some sort of like intrinsic references to all those kind of things. So that's lovely to know, like that it's part of the story. Just makes it richer.
Thank you. Um, I would say also, in what's going on right now in this climate, I think we need to, have some entertainment where it's a bit of it's more escapism. It's not too much politics going on in what you're reading. You can just shut everything off. Let me delve into this.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and I think we need more of that.
yeah. Very true. Now that's a very very fine balance to maintain, right? Like that's what I loved about like the original Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like they balanced it so well, like escapism with all the like also with the racial issues and those kind of things.
Hmm.
They did it so well, and never leaving the fact out that they're a comedy, they're a sitcom, and they're about a
Hmm.
family, and the characters were so loving and endearing, and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think that type of entertainment it's coming back around. We're starting to see signs of it with what's that show that just came out? It came out on Netflix. No, not Netflix. Hulu. I think it's Abbott's Elementary. It's on Hulu.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it's a very funny show, and
yeah,
it's lighthearted. Not too much politics into it, and we're starting to get that type of entertainment back, and that's making me smile because that's the type of shows I grew up on. Family Matters, Growing Pains,
yeah, yeah,
wholesome show, and I love that, and um, that's what I want to bring across in my books, just that lighthearted, good stories, but has a lot of action,
yeah.
a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. One of my favorite shows that does this really well, used to do actually, it's gone off air now. It was Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I love that show.
Oh man, I love that. It was funny. I love that
Yeah,
show.
yeah. All the characters were so like so rich and amazing. Yeah.
And that new show on Netflix, Blockbuster. That I just saw it the other day. It's pretty good. Has that same kind of vibe from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and
Oh
has
yeah.
yeah, has the a few characters from that on that show now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
cool.
And who doesn't love Randall Park, isn't it?
Oh man, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of good movies coming up too. The Black Adam, love
yeah.
that movie. Um,
I
I
haven't
I
watched
I,
it yet.
I like where they're going. Oh yeah, okay. I think you'll like it. It's
Okay,
cool.
nice, nice.
It's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Black Panther is coming up. So
Yeah, I'm gonna see that one. Maybe this weekend I'll get a chance to take a look at it. I definitely want to check it out.
yeah, I think Marvel Phase 4 has been so dull. Like I've been looking forward to Black Panther because of that. Like I feel this might change things a little bit because so far it's been very very dull the whole phase of Phase 4.
Man, who you telling, man? It's been a stinker, man. The only thing out of Phase 4 that I liked was the Spider-Man movie, No Way Home.
Yeah.
Um, what else? Like a Spider-Man. Um, WandaVision was pretty
WandaVision
good.
was actually quite good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually like
Anything else?
Hawkeye. I didn't
Hawkeye?
mind one. Yeah, I didn't mind it. It was decent. But see, we're clutching to straws. These are like
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't we shouldn't be struggling to think of like what did I like? It should just be isn't it? Well, to be fair though, phase three was it was so epic. It was just so beautifully done that,
yeah,
phase four I don't think stood a good chance,
nah,
going up after that.
that's very true. I think like the problem with Phase 4 has mostly been the new characters that they've introduced. They've not done it in a great way, and maybe because of Disney Plus, the production quality has gone down significantly. Like with She-Hulk, I couldn't get around the fact that She-Hulk was so badly animated, like the whole VFX around
Sheesh.
it. It's
Sheesh.
just so distracting. I
um
really appreciate some of the things in that story, but uh, it's not a great show.
No, and the thing is, a lot of the newer characters that Marvel is introducing, they're not they're not very likable in terms of just um how they're portrayed as characters. They don't have a lot of likable traits about them. Like She-Hulk in particular, she's an alcoholic. She's uh, just not a good person. You can't really relate to her. You don't want to root for her. And I don't know why Marvel is going this direction. Like, we
Yeah.
aside from like Spider-Man and uh eesh, I'm I'm
That's all
struggling,
right. That's
man.
all right.
I
That's all
can't
right.
really think of too many guys I like.
No,
But
I did like a few things about Moon Knight. Not a lot, but a few things. But
um well, Moon Knight, he has potential. I kind of like bits and pieces of what they put across, but I felt like the whole series was very convoluted. Like
mm,
it it was so I kind of see what they were trying to go for, but it was so muddled and just so it just didn't gel well
yeah,
together for
yeah,
me. I was like, yeah,
yeah. That's why I
okay,
said I liked it in parts, like few things, but not the show as a whole.
no,
Yeah.
but I like what DC's doing though. DC's
Mm,
they're making some good choices with their stories and characters, and I think they realize that let's stop trying to compete with Marvel. Let's stop trying to force a universe of characters on the people. Let's just slowly build up and do our thing.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's what I loved about the Suicide Squad. Like it was almost like James Gunn going to his roots of like I know James
mm,
Gunn loves superheroes because if have you seen Super? His like the older movie? Yeah,
excellent movie. I saw that back in
exactly.
the day. I was like, okay, I like this. It's a different take.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Different take. And
And yeah,
oh,
he
god,
loves his R-rated stuff. So.
yeah, definitely. And I'm glad Henry is back for Superman, Man of Steel 2 coming. I love it, and I love that they're going back to the roots of Superman. He's 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 the Boy Scout, man. That's the heart of Superman. I mean, they played around with the dark, brooding Superman, but we want to get back to the roots, man.
Yeah,
That's what we need.
absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. We're coming to time. But yeah, I'll give a shout out to your comic to check out Stargazers on Kickstarter and fund it. get the project to life. And, looking forward to some lovely science fiction stories from you, man.
Awesome. Thank you. We had a great combo. Awesome.